was taken on the cause of a young lady named Nazanin Fateh, and that's how she got involved in this work. Nazanin Fateh was a 16-year-old girl who was being raped. During the rape, she took out a knife that she had in her pocket and stabbed her attacker. She has been sentenced to death. Because under Sharia law that Iran works under, and that was attempted to be introduced in Ontario by a government that was pandering for votes, a woman who is being raped but doesn't have 4 male witnesses is liable to the death sentence because it's not a rape. It's considered a shame on her family. This is the kind of politically correct culture that almost came to Canada. Nazanin and Afshin-Jam put aside a great deal of personal ambition, has devoted a great deal of time. She's back from Germany from a demonstration by Amnesty International against death penalty. Many of you might know she's a former Miss World Canada, and she has used that to focus attention on the abuse of women's rights in Iran and throughout the Muslim world. Sitting next to her is Bridget Gabriel. Bridget Gabriel is well known to many of you, if not all of you. She survived the victimization that the Islamists have been put on everybody as a child in Lebanon. She overcame death and destruction. She overcame personal tragedy to become one of the Middle East's best-known broadcasters. She came to America. She's the founder of the American Congress of Truth and the author of the best-selling Because They Hate. There'll be a book signing right outside. Bridget Gabriel, welcome. Wafa Sultan was leading a nice, quiet life in what she calls her new nation of California. She loves California. But she started to write in Arabic. A journal, a blog, writing. Keeping it secret from her own children who spoke English mostly. Because she couldn't stomach the hypocrisy that she was hearing coming out of the Middle East. Well, as all of you know, just a short while ago, she burst full bloom onto the world stage when Al Jazeera had called her ostensibly for an interview, which turned out into an attempted bushwhacking session with Islamic clerics, and I think most of the people in this room have seen this video, and she gave better than she got, to the point where the clerics just said, well, you're an apostate, I don't have to talk to her. Wafa Sultan. Next to her is Nani Darwish, another lover of Southern California. I can't quite understand the smog and the blue skies, and don't you want some misery? Another lover of California. Nani's is perhaps one of the most dramatic stories. Well, she'll tell you about in detail. But this is a woman born in Egypt. And I won't say more than this. His father was killed in a targeted assassination by Israeli agents. Arriving in America, however, she discovered certain youth groups and founded Arabs for Israel, and is the author of a new book coming out in November called Now They Call Me Infidel. Nani Darwish. But we're going to start with my co-host for today. And as dramatic as the stories of these heroines are, what is important and shattering for us here in Quebec, disruptive intelligence for us here in Quebec, is that as we were planning this, and when Jack Dim and I started to talk about this conference way back in August, we never imagined that we would have evidence, not just eloquence, but evidence, as Al Gordon, President of Canadian Coalition for Democracy, likes to say, evidence and eloquence, evidence from Quebec that we can breach this wall of apathy. As Quebecers, Canadians, we have a tremendous empathy for human fate. Tsunami and natural disaster. Give us our checkbook. We'll write a check. And then we go running back and scurrying back for a quarter acre of land or house and leave us alone. Human hate? We're nowhere. And in the midst of planning this, just 12 days ago, Germain Belzile, instructor of the Haute Étude Commerciale, HEC Montréal, composed a remarkable letter that he got 20 other Quebec intellectuals to sign. It was printed in La Presse, which already was a miracle. And that letter was in support of Robert Rediker. Robert Rediker is a French philosopher who is in hiding because there's a fatwa issued against him. He dared to publish some critical comments to the Quran. I don't know about you guys, but I can find lots of vicious stuff to talk about the New Testament, the Old Testament. Can't do it with the Quran, apparently. You go into hiding. What's more tragic, by the way, is that while he was under police protection, and supposedly nobody knew where he was, just 4 days ago, they found out where he was, and they had to move him again. Germain Belzile not only called in this letter with Germain and his colleagues for support for Rediker, but he went further, and the National Post said it's time for us as a society to draw a line in the sand. The buck stops here. No more apologizing, he said, not like the Danish cartoonist did, and not even like Pope Benedict XVI did. So before we hear from our four speakers, I'd like Germain Belzile to take the podium. I want him to read you his letter, his thoughts, and explain how this came to be. Because this is from us, here in Quebec. We don't have to look, as the Talmud says, beyond heaven or beyond the sea or in heaven for the solutions. The solutions are here. And here's a man who's starting the solutions. Germain Belzile.
First of all, I would like to thank Gerald for inviting me to this conference. I feel honored to share the stage with these four very, very courageous women. As Beryl told you, Robert Rediker is a French philosophy professor, and he's in hiding right now. And I personally felt a lot of shame with so little help that he's had in his ordeal. And that's the reason why I co-wrote with Gias Roca, who is one of my co-signatories right here, and with a few Quebec academics or intellectuals, a letter which I will read in French. Nous, écrivains, artistes, intellectuels, politiciens, simples citoyens canadiens, tenons à exprimer par cette lettre notre totale solidarité avec le philosophe français Robert Rediker, condamné à mort par son propre pays par une fatwa criminelle qui démontre par l'absurde la justesse des arguments ayant valu des menaces d'assassinat formel à cet intellectuel courageux. Non seulement nous exhortons l'État français à prendre toutes les dispositions qui s'imposent pour que s'applique sa constitution sur son propre sol, mais nous demandons à nos deux paliers de gouvernement, à Ottawa et à Québec, de dénoncer avec force cette seconde affaire Salman Rushdie. Nous souhaitons vivement que les autres pays de l'Union européenne, ainsi que les institutions qui les représentent, prennent clairement leurs responsabilités face à ce terrorisme global qui entend faire régner dans nos sociétés encore libres une dictature infâme. Espérons que les États-Unis d'Amérique et la Russie se coalisent sans délai pour la défense des valeurs centrales de notre civilisation, une civilisation pour laquelle la liberté de penser n'est pas négociable. Quant aux autorités musulmanes, nous les sommons si elles ne veulent pas voir advenir le choc frontal prévu, annoncé, promu et désormais enclenché par le néo-bolchevisme islamiste, de se dissocier au plus vite des auteurs de cette fatwa et de ceux qui l'appuient activement ou par leur silence. Enfin, nous osons affirmer que le moment n'est plus au repli défensif, car résister au totalitarisme et au terrorisme, ce n'est pas seulement aligner quelques mots sur des pétitions comme la nôtre, c'est avertir les criminels en puissance que nous n'avons pas peur et que nous ne plierons jamais devant leurs intimidations barbares et leurs projets liberticides.